Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Decided to do another update to the Topaz Denoise AI plugin for Lightroom. I just want to be upfront here for you guys that I do have an affiliate program link that I'll put in the description of the video. It takes 15% off any product that you want from Topaz. Now this is normally $80 as you see, so it'll take about $11-12 off the price of any of their programs. But this video will be about the Denoise AI. If you find this useful and you really want the program, I love it. I use it all the time, as you'll see. Use my affiliate link down there and save yourself 15%, and I'll get a couple bucks my way as support for my channel. So here we are in our first picture. We're at 100% view. Now you can click the automatic here and the program will figure out what's best. Or you can play with the sliders yourself, see what you like. Get your color noise, recover original detail, enhance sharpness, remove noise. And every time you move one of these, the loading bar will change down here, and you can move this back and forth to see the previous. So you can see the difference. Not a whole lot. With your low ISO photos, this cropped in, it's really not that big of a change. And then on the top here, you can click your zoom amount. You can click zoom to fit. But if you're showing this much of the photo, this is a 45 megapixel photo, the preview loading bar down here will take a lot longer. So whenever you want to apply whatever settings you have here, just click the apply button. It'll give you this render screen. It saves it as a TIFF file right here. So you can click that, it'll minimize it, and then it'll stack the two copies on top of each other. So then the next one, we have the moon photo, which is ISO 320. So there is a low light setting now in the AI mode. So sometimes it does this. I don't know what that is about. But as soon as you change your view, it fixes it. So it's like a weird glitchy bug. I don't understand it, to be honest. But you click low light, and if you click auto, it'll figure out what the best setting is for it, for what it thinks. So here we have the fully rendered version. It's really not that much different. So sometimes the low light auto settings can get it good, sometimes it doesn't. So again, not really doing anything for me. So I just go back to the Denoise AI tab, crank that up a little bit, and now a lot of the noise in the background disappears. But then your moon gets kind of like, I don't know, looks like a marshmallow. It's almost like whenever you see people like over Photoshop their faces in selfies and they have like no skin pores. That's kind of what it looks like. So now with it zoomed to fit and using Denoise AI and not the low light, it just looks a little bit better in my opinion. And again, just hit apply, pop up, goes across, automatically loads and saves it. Now onto my Eagle Jpeg here. So let's just say, normally it looks fine. Let's say we want to do a close-in crop of like its face and shoulders or something. Like a really aggressive crop. This is really only a 21 megapixel camera, so this is pretty extreme, but we'll see how well AI handles. This is when Denoise AI really starts to shine, in my opinion. This is like when it starts getting good. So not much different here. So we're gonna tell it to remove some noise, recover some original detail, and we'll do a little bit more just to see what happens. Now, as you can see, it's kind of blurry. You got some like missing information there. And then the background's got like a glass look, frosted glass with the current settings already. But you have to keep an eye on if you do too much enhanced sharpness or like any of these goes a little too high, you start losing color. As you can see, like around its eye here is very pale. When you go back to the original, there's a little bit more color in it. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. So then we have 5 images left in our examples. And just to speed up your workflow, instead of opening individually, you can open them all at once. Highlight them all, right click. Then you just go to Denoise again. Same steps as before. And it'll open those 5 photos in Denoise for you. So right away, we can already tell that this red-winged blackbird is going to look pretty good once we start playing around with this a little bit. So we don't want to completely wipe away the details and the feathers. So we're going to reduce the noise removal a little bit, recover the original detail, lower color noise reduction, maybe a little bit of sharpness. We'll see how that looks in a second. So as you can see, the background had a little bit, I think this was ISO 500, a little bit of background noise. So over here, it's very smoothed out, and we didn't lose too much in the feathers. So then if you want, we can just go to fit to zoom. And again, this will take a few extra seconds than it normally would because it's doing the whole image. So then we got this little guy. I don't really know what this bird is called, to be quite honest with you. So just to make it easier on us, we're going to do 100%, move our preview up. And another thing I forgot to mention is you can click this little arrow and it'll minimize the other files, so you have more room to view. So we'll just reduce this noise removal a little bit so it doesn't turn into a watercolor. Then go back to zoom to fit. Final verdict. Yeah, pretty happy. So I believe this was at 4000 ISO. So we'll just put AI clear. We'll see what that does on auto. This seems more like the dummy version of the Denoise AI tab. Less control over it, but it kind of figures it out on its own. And it didn't do too bad. So you can see enhanced sharpness is on low, but for some reason it looks over sharpened in the feathers. And you get like globs of digital noise in the background, which just looks strange and unnatural. So we're going to go back to Denoise AI tab. We're going to do it ourselves. A little sharpness, original detail. We'll reduce color noise reduction because not too much going on there, I don't think. So the background seems a lot more evened out than the AI clear did. We didn't really lose any detail in the feathers or anything. Let's go back to full size. And as we can see, pretty decent difference there. So now this is 4000 ISO. So this is before. This is just the normal settings that it just picks. So we got a bunch of extra noise in the eye here, lost a little bit of detail. So whenever we move the slider over, it kind of smooths out the eye, gives a little more glassy look. We don't really lose any detail in the tiny little feathers under his chin or on his forehead. Really cleans up along his bill here. You can use your mouse wheels as well to zoom in and out if you don't want to use the drop down. So this gives you a better preview without being cropped in and pixel peeping, which pixel peeping isn't exactly the healthiest thing to do in photography. So we got the original, noise in the eye, noisy background, a little bit of noise on his beak here. And if we bring it across, nice and smooth, sharp, didn't lose any detail again. If I could endorse this in any official way and be a spokesman for it, I would. Everyone knows this. Everyone jokes about how much I talk about it, but it really does work good. So we have this last photo here. This is at 6400 ISO again. So at the already pre-programmed in settings here that just picks randomly, I guess. It's a little harsh in the shadows. Keep a little bit of sharpness, original detail, reduce the color noise reduction. Wait for the preview to catch up. And here we are. This is probably one of the better examples, to be honest. This is 6400 ISO. Pretty incredible, to be quite honest with you. Now, this doesn't give you like a get out of jail free card to just go and shoot the worst settings possible, overexpose or underexpose, try to fix your exposure in post and go, oh, I'll just fix it in denoise. I mean, it's not going to save you for that. But if you get a nice exposure and you want to fix a little bit of denoise in the background on your subject, clean it up a little bit, it'll work great for that. Pretty crazy results, I'm not going to lie. Definitely worth the $60, $70. I've been using it for years now, probably 2 years. And one more thing here, on the numbers here, they correspond with your settings on the right side. So if you wanted this image to match this image for denoise, you just type in the same numbers over here, hit enter, match it all up. So when you're done with all this, you want to select all your images and just click apply. Okay, now that we have all of the images spit out of Topaz, we'll just go through and do a quick rundown on them one more time, comparing the before and after. So the before on this is on the left, after is on the right. This is ISO 200. So unless you're doing like an extreme crop, you're really going to have diminishing returns, as I mentioned earlier. So not really the best example for this. So the next one is going to be the moon. So on the left is the original, right is the denoised version. As you can see, you lose a little bit of detail on the moon, but for the most part, shots like this, you're probably going to be showing a little further out, kind of like this. It's noticeable on the detail of the moon, but also you're really not going to hide a whole bunch of noise anyways. It's just black. And personally, I prefer the original because it has more detail on the moon's surface. I think it looks more interesting. So for astro, I probably wouldn't recommend Topaz for it, but for wildlife, it's pretty cool. So on the left is the original, right is the denoised version. So it kind of cleans up the beak, a little extra noise removed. It looks a little bit sharper because this eagle photo was shot on a D500, so you only had 21 megapixels to really play with. And when the original photo, and you're trying to crop in on just that bit, it's going to struggle a lot, but even then, it's definitely cleared it up compared to how it was before. And that was at ISO 500. So the next one is the red-winged blackbird here. Whenever you go to denoise it, the original's on the left again, so you can see the background has a little bit more noise in it. The feathers have a little bit more noise. So this one, the background's a little bit more smoothed out. Didn't really lose too much detail. So even if you compare it like this, we'll just try and fill the screen. For me, I can definitely see that there's more noise in this than the right version. But this is ISO 1000. And it's not quite high enough to really take advantage of denoise. So this one's at ISO 1250, getting up there a little bit, still nothing too crazy going on. As you can see, sometimes in some photos, denoise works better than others. Here, the left is original, right is the denoised, and they kind of look similar. Not kind of like, splitting some hairs here and there. So then we have this happy little parrot again. He's at ISO 1250. And you really don't see a big difference until you zoom in. But the background's starting to fall apart a tiny bit, the bokeh, I suppose. And on the denoise one, it looks nice and tack sharp. The beak even gains a little extra detail from sharpening in Topaz with no loss to details on the feathers. Personally, I really like this because for me, this is how I originally had it cropped for my website and for a few videos I did. I always like 8x10s. I just think it's like the perfect aspect for a lot of photos. You crop it in like that, you get the noise in the background. But if you go to your denoised version, do the same crop, like that. Looks a little smoother in the backgrounds compared to the unedited version. So this is where you really start seeing the denoise pull away. It works great for this kind of stuff. So even without pixel peeping this is the original. So this is where it really starts to pull away and show you how good Topaz denoise is. This is at ISO 4000. So and this is the original on the left. All the noise in the eye, right? No noise, nice and cleaned up. No extra detail lost in the forehead feathers. Background looks really good. And if you look at the beak, details maintained. Noise is lost. And I just think it kicks some ass at this point. Our last example here, ISO 6400. The original, got a lot of noise in the background, edited, completely gone. Still kept detail in the bird's face, didn't lose any detail in the feathers. The eye looks a little bit sharper. Not as much noise put into it from raising the shadows and doing some edits. Just great all the way around. And again, Topaz is really useful for this because another benefit to Topaz is it gives you the ability to crop in on higher ISO photos, and you don't really ingest any extra noise in the background because you crop in so much. So that's another bonus to this program that I really enjoy. So hopefully you found this overview pretty useful for Topaz Denoise. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, leave them down below. Give me a like, subscribe, all that good jazz if this was helpful for you, and I'll see you next time.